Okay, I'm going to cheat here a wee bit. I'm making a video with the iPad, so I'm going to shout because I know the volume isn't that crash hot on these things, and the light in this room is pretty diabolical, but hey, just going to live with it for the moment. What I've got is a follow-up to a video that I made about 2 years ago on the L2A1 SLR. The SLR is a self-loading rifle. It's the terminology that you'll find British, Australian, New Zealanders and members of the British Commonwealth using. What they're talking about is the FN FAL. If you want to know more about the FAL, then the book together is the collector's grade. The FAL Rifle Classic Edition by a guy called Blake Stevens. If you go on Amazon and have a look, I'm sure there are copies for sale. And the book's specific to the Australian Lithgow manufacturer, L1's SLRs, heavy barrel SLRs. There's this one, SLR, Australia's FN FAL. It's by Ian Skennerton and David Bulmer. Ed Skennerton's a very, very well-known author, and again I think you'll probably find there's a few of these things floating around. What I'm going to do is give you a very quick look at this configuration, because I don't think many guys from the UK or the US will have seen these things up close. It's the Lithgow copy of the Australian C2. All the rifles manufactured for the New Zealand Army, there was the rifle that I was issued when I first joined the Army, they were all manufactured by the Australians at Lithgow between sort of 1962 and 1963, the bulk of them. And the Australians copied the Canadians and came up with a heavy barrel version. The standard machine gun for the Anzacs, or the New Zealanders, was the FN GPMG. The Australians were using the M60. And when we went into Vietnam with the Australians, we were obliged to use their M60s so that there was sort of continuity of spare parts, etc. There are about 9,500, just over, of this particular Lithgow type heavy barrel SLR produced, and the bulk of them saw service with the Australians and New Zealanders. They did filter out to some of the Pacific Island nations. A couple went to Jamaica, Oman, basically the rump of the British Empire. If they were using SLRs, then the Australian salesman managed to flick a few units to those countries. It's not a bad gun. It's kind of in the category of BAR really. It fires off a 30-round box magazine. Cyclic rate of fire is fairly usual, about 600 rounds a minute, and it's got a sufficiently heavy barrel that you can whack through a number of magazines before you have to start worrying about overheating. It wasn't intended as a frontline machine gun. We used it mainly as a training gun and a gun for the reserve units, territorial force. That's where most of these things ended up in the New Zealand Army. Some of them did get taken across to Vietnam. The Australians used a few of them with their infantry battalion, but it was generally as a floating gun, if you like. So the platoon commander had recourse to another automatic weapon he could use to bolster an ambush, or guard an open flank, or use it to take a guy out to accompany him when he does reconnaissance, that kind of thing. Now that's pretty much how we used it as well. The reason I've got it is because the people that I shoot with in the main, two guys that I shoot with, they've had them for some time and they've converted them to semi-automatic. This is, at the moment, it's a C category full auto firearm, so I can't shoot it. We can have functioning machine guns in this country, but you can't shoot anything on a collector's ticket. So I'm going to get it converted. They do a sympathetic conversion. It doesn't interfere with the firearm too much, and it can be reconverted back to its automatic configuration if I want to sell the gun. But what we've been doing in the last year or so, we've been doing a lot of long range shooting with service rifles, and in the main we've been using iron sights. I'll show you what I've been using just recently. I now have, I think, five SLRs, which is a couple too many. One of them is in the original wood configuration. It's absolutely gorgeous. There's another brand spanking new one which I picked up when I bought this gun. It was an ex-Air Force armory, so it basically is mint. And then this one is one that was converted from the second pattern wood furniture. It's had the New Zealand nylon furniture put on. It came with a really good barrel, which is the main issue. Most of the surplus firearms that we can get our hands on here now The barrels have been shot out. These things have been around for a long time, and the army rifles that were dropped on the civilian market had seen a hell of a lot of service anyway. So I managed to get lucky with this, find a dunger old rifle, but the barrel was good. And we've been shooting this 600 metres against a torso-sized target, basically from the navel to the head, 600 metres, iron sights, and all three of us have been getting consistently good hits. We're basically on target within 2 or 3 rounds if we've got a spotter, and if it's really good conditions so we can see the splash, you're on within a couple, maybe 2 rounds. And that's largely irrespective of wind conditions. So the 7.62 round is a very, very capable projectile. We haven't been able to get anything like those good consistent results with the AR-15s. The best possible configuration that you can have for this type of rifle is this with mounting an L-can optic. Tony and his mate have both got this. It's the Spectre 1.5 to 6 times magnification. And the ideal combo is to take this sight and mount it on this particular FN. For reasons that should be fairly self-evident. It's a heavy, heavy barrel which contributes to accuracy. It's a really good heat sink. It's got a bipod, so when you're in the prone position you get into a real stable, good firing position. It's factory fitted, so they've already calculated the effect on barrel harmonics. It's not like an aftermarket part that's being whacked on, which can really interfere with your barrel harmonics if it's touching the barrel in any way. And the other thing which gives it sort of a slightly more enhanced accuracy over the standard rifle is the plunger. The trigger plunger, just in behind the trigger group here, it's basically a small rod. Depressing the trigger activates it, depresses it, and the weapon cycles. On the machine gun version, it's about 1 millimetre shorter, and the trigger is a little bit crisper, a little bit cleaner to break. So that's what we're going to do. It's going to be converted to semi-automatic. It'll mount the L-can. If you're looking at doing something like that, then you have to have a Picatinny rail for the modern optics, and DS Arms makes this Extreme Duty. I think it's called DS53 Extreme Duty. I'll just give you a close-up. They've done a really good job of manufacturing this thing. It's retained with a couple of internal plates and screws, fore and aft, and there's 3 on this side, which means that there's absolutely no flexing and no movement in the dust cover. It's absolutely clamped down onto the receiver. Really good thing as far as accuracy is concerned, and it can mount and be dismounted quickly with this down here somewhere. The throw levers here, you can take the sight off, put it back on, and it will retain 0. We've experimented and it retains 0 really well. So with this sight, the sight mount and the heavy barrel SLR, we're pushing out now to shooting as accurately at 800 metres as we have been at 600. And we're well and truly capable of getting onto a man-sized target at 1,000 metres with standard ball ammunition on this kind of platform. So that's what I'm going to be doing. As far as the differences between the standard rifle and the machine gun, they're really cosmetic. Obviously the barrel, the bipod folds up so that you can tote it around like a rifle. It's lighter than a BAR, it's certainly a hell of a lot lighter than a Bren gun. It's a really good, well, it's a machine gun, but really effectively it's an automatic rifle. But if I was a prepper or a survivalist, then this would probably be the thing that I'd be toting around. 7.62 is very, very capable. This is not so heavy that it's onerous, and as a weapon system, I think it's just the bee's knees. You're either a 7.62 guy or you're not, and in the majority of cases, I guess, the old AR-15 and 5.56 is fine, no argument with that. You can carry a lot more ammunition, it's a lot lighter, but this just beats the shit out of cover. It blows through pretty much everything. As a man stopping around, it's very capable indeed. And I'm old school, I'm an old fart, so I'm very familiar with this rifle from my military service, and I just like the things. It came with 5 30-round magazines, which is fantastic. The only thing that we found with this type of full-length battle rifle, if you are, I borrowed Tony's vest for the purpose of demonstration, excuse me for a second. We just do this shit for sport. We're not survivalists, we're not preppers. Tony has a vest. I don't know why, but he has one. It's a level 3 plate and soft armour. I'll just do this up so you can see what I'm talking about. For you Americans in particular, I think that many of you, I don't want to take the piss out of you, but when you're on the outside looking in at the United States, this whole prepping thing can seem very peculiar. I've been to the US in the last 10 years, oh God, about 15, 16 times, and I can appreciate there are certain parts of the US that if I lived there I'd be a prepper as well. We don't have the same schisms and tensions that you guys do, so I have to make judgments, and this is why I'm doing this. If you are somebody that wears armour or contemplates wearing armour, fantastic, it's a very good idea. But if you have a full-length battle rifle, old school, you'll have a real problem getting the firearm into the socket of your shoulder. The vest just gets in the way. It's not so bad in the prone position, but it does stop you from getting a proper cheek weld. You have to cant your head, and it's not really that satisfactory. So this is something to consider if you've got the old school battle rifles. Wouldn't be such a problem with the Scar Heavy, and I've shot that quite a lot in the United States because it does have the adjustable stock, and that would assist in overcoming this particular issue. But again, you guys, the old saying, you fight as you train. If you're going to do armour, make sure that your firearm can accommodate it. And also, if you're going to put chest rig, load-bearing equipment on top of armour, man, you're going to be so far off the ground in the prone position. I think it's ill-advised. If you're going to wear armour, I'd be wearing belt water for my pouches, water bottles and things. I wouldn't have anything on my chest. But that's just me. So that's where we're at. We are off shooting in about a week. Tony's working at the moment, so I'm anxiously waiting for him to get his shit together and give me a call, and we'll take this puppy out after we've got it converted to semi-automatic, which is happening early next week. It's a pretty small task. I'll mount the oil can, get rid of this dust cover. The sight, just for information, is a peep sight, and it's graduated up to 1,000 metres. It's a ramp system. This thing's really accurate with iron sights. The Australian battle sights of all the FN rifles are generally regarded as being the best. Now, reasonably narrow profile foresight, optimum kind of sized optic reticle, I should say. That's not a fucking reticle, it's a hole in the rear sight. You know what I'm talking about. The combination, according to the experts, is the best combo. So I don't know if that's true or not. But we'll get this thing mounted up, whack it on this rifle, take it out, and we'll get some footage of us trying to get good, consistent hits out at 800 and then pushing out to 1,000 metres with standard ball ammunition. We've got South African and Australian. The Australian tends to be a little bit more accurate, so we'll be using that. So that's just an update for you, and again for the Yanks and the Brits, heavy barrel SLR, you probably haven't seen too many in your part of the world. Bloody awesome bit of kit. Hope you're well. Talk to you soon.